After a year's absence, one of the most successful and decorated U.S. players returns to the fold. But Michael Bradley's association with the darkest day in U.S. men's soccer history has created some major mixed emotions. And he's going to have his hands full with a powerful Colombian camp that just oozes offense. James Rodriguez again pulling the strings for the 14th ranked Los Cafeteros. We welcome you to humid Tampa, Florida, and the AT&T pregame show. Hurricane Michael barely brushed this area of the Gulf Coast. Very low chance of rain today, even though we just got some showers as we get you set for two countries that have a rich history against one another. The most famous and eventually infamous meeting, 1994 at the World Cup. The U.S. getting that important, ultimately tragic victory, 2-1 over Colombia at the World Cup. Alexi Lawless went the full 90 that day. Former U.S. international Maurice Sadu, Rob Stone, glad you're here with us. And boy, a lot to get to on the AT&T pregame show. The latest on the head coaching hunt for the U.S. men's national team, plus why the decision to bring veterans into the mix now. And to help kickstart that conversation, we take our first look at starting lineups. And exactly 1 year and 1 day after captaining the U.S. to that loss in Trinidad and Tobago, which kept them out of the World Cup, Michael Bradley is back.
He is back. We're going to talk more about Michael Bradley there in that midfield position, but also in the back line, 3 of the 4 right now, solid, playing consistently, including Matt Miazga, standing tall, not short on confidence. That left back position continues to be a weakness, but we'll see how Robinson does there, getting another opportunity there. And up top, Bobby Wood, the man with 41 caps and 12 goals, playing over in Hanover. He's going to be in charge of getting that ball in the back of the net, but keep an eye on either side with Weah and Kenny Seff over there doing some damage, taking players on one-on-one.
Yeah, you look at this Colombia lineup that we talked about, having a lot of firepower up top. Well, you start on the back line with Sanchez, a guy who played every game in this World Cup, and in the absence of Yerry Mina, it's going to be on him to really lead that back line. And I think we got to get straight into the attack. With guys like James Rodriguez coming back into the fold, Falcao, Baca, Cuadrado, the attack is potent. It's going to be a big, big challenge for this young U.S. defense to lock them down and stop them from getting some goals on the board.
Young is a magic word to describe this U.S. men's national team. They've been rolling out the kids for about a year since that loss to Trinidad and Tobago, but now they bring one of the veterans back, Michael Bradley. You see his numbers through his career. You compare it to the 8 other midfielders on this roster. Huge disparity in numbers and production. So Bradley's return to the field, that is the major talking point, and Arcady with him caught up with them earlier.
Well, Michael, it has been a year since you stepped on the field for the U.S. men's national team. Why answer the call right now? And what does this next chapter look like for you?
It's the national team. There's nothing better, and you don't say no. So for me, the chance to be back with this group, the chance to play 2 big friendlies, it's something I'm very excited about.
You face a Colombian side that brings in 12 players from their World Cup roster. The midfield is going to be tough tonight. What constitutes a good performance from your end?
Yeah, it's a very good team. A lot of very good players, a lot of skillful players. You know, we understand when you play these types of games, what happens in the midfield goes a long way towards determining who wins. So we're going to have to take care of things in a good way.
Appreciate the time. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, they like to say age is just a number. Well, here are the numbers, the ages. Come the next World Cup for a handful of U.S. veterans that may still be in the mix, be it for the next couple of friendlies, be it for next summer's Gold Cup, World Cup qualifying, or dare I say even the 2022 World Cup. Look, we spoke with Michael yesterday. It was clear how proud he was to have that badge again and to be back in the U.S. camp. He's also well aware of the anger, even the hatred that's out there, because he was a large component wearing the armband the day the U.S. failed to qualify for last summer's World Cup. Why is it the right decision in your eyes to bring him back into this camp?
Like him or not, Michael Bradley has the experience. 140 caps for this U.S. national team. I get it that he was a part of that group that had that disappointing and hurtful performance last year to not qualify for the World Cup. But as you transition and you bring in this young group of players, you want some veteran leadership. You want guys who have been there and played at the highest level. Guys that these young guys look up to and aspire to be like. And a guy like Michael Bradley, I think, is still there in terms of contributing on the pitch, but as well as leading these guys off the pitch, providing a lot of experience and knowledge that can help them really develop into players that we believe that they can be.
Mo, I love you. I disagree, though. Look, Michael Bradley was part of the biggest failure in U.S. soccer history. Is that in and of itself disqualifying? No. It's going to always be part of the story, as it should be. It's not that he can't do the job. I agree with you. Michael Bradley's got incredible experience. It's not that he can't do the job. It's that what if the U.S. team gives opportunities, time, opportunity, patience to a younger player? And in doing so, we create a player that is better than Michael Bradley. Ironically, Michael Bradley benefited from that when he first burst on the scene. There was times when there certainly were players that at the moment were better. But what happened? You gave him time, you gave him opportunity, and you created one of the best players in U.S. soccer history. That could be done again, and that has to be done now.
I don't disagree with you. But here's what I will say. It's not that I'm saying these players shouldn't get the opportunity, but I think that his value to this team, he's still an important part in helping those young players become the player we want them to be. They have the skill set, but he knows what it means to play for this national team. He wears his shirt on his sleeve every time he steps up and plays for this country, and I think that's something, that mentality, that commitment to playing for the national team is something that these young players can help them to develop. We want to put them in the best situation possible to grow into the players we want them to be, and I think he's a player that can help them do that.
Christian Pulisic didn't need any veteran leadership or guidance. He was the best player in World Cup qualifying on that team at a young age right now. And I think sometimes we have this mythic significance to veteran leadership. And I'm not saying it's not important, but in my experience, it's negligible.
For more on this clearly hot button topic, let's go upstairs, check in for the first time tonight. John Strong and Stu Holden, guys.
Yeah, Rob, this has been dominating our conversation since Tuesday night dinner here in Tampa. Your take.
Well, when I hear what Alexi's saying there in terms of experience, when it comes to the national team, yes, Michael Bradley was given an opportunity to wear the national team shirt, but it wasn't given to him. He had to earn that, and he earned that amongst veterans. It wasn't a carte blanche. It wasn't a group that didn't qualify for a World Cup. These were veteran players in 2006 when he got his debut that was going to the World Cup, and then it was after that when he got his debut, and Michael Bradley played all those games because he was the best player. And when I look at this group right now, do I see a better midfielder in terms of a number 6 for this pool than Michael Bradley? I don't. And that is why I still think he has value. I think he has experience. I remember going into my first national team camp. If that was like the Olympic team, which is essentially what this could be in terms of these younger players, it feels comfortable. It's nice. It's a good familiar setting. But it doesn't challenge you. It doesn't make you better. When you look at training and you look at a Michael Bradley like I did back in the day with Clint Dempsey, Landon Donovan, Tim Howard, that made me better, John. It made me uncomfortable. It pushed me, and that's where I think his value is for this team going forward.
For what it's worth, the young players we talked to yesterday, all positive about the inclusion of Bradley and Guzan. Kellen Acosta telling us he's brought a seriousness to camp. It's like you want to impress these veterans with your professionalism. We'll see how it manifests itself down on the field tonight, Rob.
That topic a little bit later. Yesterday, Hurricane Michael absolutely ravaged and destroyed portions of northern Florida. The images coming out today really spectacularly discouraging. So we at Fox Sports want to encourage you to donate today by going to redcross.org or texting Michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L, to 90999 to give a $10 donation to American Red Cross Hurricane Relief. And when we return, why James Rodriguez and the high-ranked Colombians are finally reunited.
They're here.
Got big plans for this planet.
Scientists who want to keep Mars untouched will have to fight.
What you're doing is not right.
Mars new season premieres Monday, November 12th at 9 on National Geographic.
The king has gone crazy, making 10 nuggets just $1. Crazy, right? Crazy crispy, crazy juicy. 10 nuggets made of crazy delicious white meat for just $1. Now that's a crazy deal. Enjoy 10 golden nuggets for just $1 only at Burger King.
Your hair's so soft. Did you use Head & Shoulders 2-in-1?
I did, Mom. Want to try it?
Yes.
It intensely moisturizes your hair and scalp and keeps you flake-free.
Manolo, look at my soft hair. I should be in the shot now, too. Try Head & Shoulders 2-in-1.
Michael, Bayern Munich campaign so far for James Rodriguez, the Bavarian Giants. They've gone 4 games without a win. They sit in 6th place in the Bundesliga. James, limited starts, just 6 games played with 2 goals and no assists. But the 27-year-old always seems to perform at his best for the national team. He's just one of a collection of top-tier offensive talents that this team brought to Tampa tonight. Quintero, Cuadrado, Baca, Falcao, all at big clubs, all continuing to produce at a rate that the U.S. would just love to have. But Colombia has a similar problem to the U.S. They, too, are searching for a head coach. More on that a little bit later. But first, we bring in Ronaldo. And let's talk about this issue with Rodriguez and his absence from the Colombian national team post-World Cup. Why did it take so long to bring him back into the camp?
Yes, Rob, the main reason was mutual agreement between the Federation of Colombia and also his club, Bayern Munich. He missed on the friendlies last month against Argentina and Venezuela because he wanted to win a spot in Nico Kovac's starting 11 in Bayern Munich. On the other hand, Juan Fernando Quintero, who's warming up right behind me, he is under review, under health review. This because he is presenting muscular fatigue. Last night, Arturo Reyes, the interim coach, said that if he's not 100% fit, he won't risk him. This obviously turns to the side of River Plate, who won't be taking any risk because come October 23rd, he will be wanting to start in the first leg of the Copa Libertadores semifinals against Gremio in Buenos Aires. On the other hand, Edwin Cardona is back also for the Cafeteros after following a 5-match suspension with the Colombian team. This after last year, he made a racist gesture against South Korea. Now, he missed the World Cup. He thinks that this is a reborn situation with the Colombian squad. He feels as if it were the first time he was called up for Los Cafeteros. Back to you, Rob.
All right, Rodolfo, thank you. Coming up next, we're going to talk about the impact these fresh faces have made over the last year for the U.S. national team. One of the most promising gets a start today. Why you should be excited to see 18-year-old Tim Weah next. We welcome you back to Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida, as the AT&T pregame show continues. The U.S. set to take on number 14, Colombia. 16 players on this U.S. roster enter the day having single-digit appearance numbers for the U.S. men's national senior team. They may be young, they may be inexperienced, but that doesn't mean they're without talent. There are a lot of exciting talents out there that people should be excited about. Maybe at the top of the list, young Tim Weah.
Look, Tim Weah, there's nothing that gets the American soccer public more excited than young talent. Actually, you know what gets them more excited? Young talent that is playing overseas. And you know what gets people more excited? Young talent is playing overseas at one of the elite clubs in the world. Okay, he's not playing consistently, but this guy is fun to watch. When the ball gets to this guy's foot, good things happen because he immediately goes forward and takes players on.
Those saying Michael Bradley shouldn't be there, there's one of the reasons he's there, talking to the young guns. Here's another one. Ginger loves Ginger.
Look, my kingdom for a goal scorer, Rob Stone. Maybe they're going to have to turn to the mutant gene right there. This redhead up top has scored for the U.S. at the under-17 level, the under-20 level. He's already got a goal for the national team. Yet to break in over in Germany to Werder Bremen, but I don't know why he is not starting this game. We know who Bobby Wood is, and he is acceptable. But maybe you put that redhead in, and good things happen from a
Dave
Ginger Nation.
Sarakin hinted we might see him tonight. Let's talk defense here.
Yeah, when we talk about opportunities, taking advantage of opportunities, I think there's no one better than Dak Steppen at the moment who's really done that. He's had a stellar performances over time and time again with Columbus Crew, but with the national team, he's come in and done the exact same thing. And I think it's a credit to him and his performances that with Brad Guzan back in the squad, he is still the #1 keeper in this game.
And then the big man playing in front of him, John Brooks.
John Brooks, that's a player I like. You know, and he's still a young player, but he has a wealth of experience so far with the national team, having played in the World Cup. You would see him as a future center back for this team going forward. And against a team like Colombia tonight with the attack that we talked about earlier, the onus is going to be on him to really lead from the back and keep them organized and try to keep a clean sheet.
We're about 26.5 minutes away from kickoff. Coming up next, breaking news that should impact the U.S. women's national team, plus the latest on who's in the running and who isn't for the vacant U.S. men's head coaching position.
Endless Shrimp is on at Red Lobster with all the shrimp you want, any way you want them. Try new crunchy Fiesta Shrimp, tortilla chip crusted and topped with a creamy blend of 3 cheeses. Favorites like garlic shrimp scampi are back too. So hurry in before Endless Shrimp ends.
The big news from sticky Tampa tonight, the return of former U.S. men's national team captain Michael Bradley, who's not only in the starting 11 tonight, but also wearing the armband just 1 year and 1 day removed from the loss at Trinidad and Tobago, which prevented the States from qualifying for last summer's World Cup. The U.S. women's team set to defend their World Cup crown. Coverage begins in 239 days. Up next for the U.S. men, the Gold Cup in 250 days. Both of those events live on Fox Sports. And boy, the U.S. women well on their way to booking a ticket to France. Last night, they outshot TNT 59-0. 59-0 en route to a 7-0 win that had plenty of goal celebrations.
To really hit home, but look at this strike. Woo! I'm hoping to see some of that tonight.
That's how you get it done in World Cup qualifying.
Oh, veiled shot, maybe not so veiled. So the winner of the 2 semis in the CONCACAF Women's Championship automatically earned tickets to the World Cup. U.S. in action next, live on FS1 Sunday versus an opponent to be named. Later, we will have both semifinal games for you. Coverage starting at 5 Eastern. Let's talk now with some breaking and uplifting news regarding the Women's World Cup. For that, we bring in Sports Illustrated and Fox Sports contributor Grant Wall. And Grant, for decades, there has been a massive disparity in pay between the Men's World Cup and the Women's World Cup. There's some movement on that, but maybe not as much movement as most would like.
Yeah, here tonight, we can break the news on the prize money increases for next summer's Women's World Cup that are set to take effect. According to a source with knowledge of the proposal, the total prize money for the next Women's World Cup will double from $15 million 4 years ago to $30 million in 2019. Now, they're going to also be providing money, FIFA, for compensation for preparation costs like business class flights for most teams to the World Cup. That goes from $0 to $11.5 million. And then also FIFA is going to provide compensation costs for clubs whose players are used in the World Cup. This happens in the Men's World Cup, too. That goes from $0 to $8.5 million. If you're wondering how that compares, this $30 million in prize money for the women to the Men's World Cup, the men got a cool $400 million this year. Now, proponents of these changes will say that the total outlay from FIFA is more than tripling for the Women's World Cup. Critics, however, will surely point out that the total prize money gap between the men and the women is actually increasing over these 4 years.
Yesterday, we spoke with U.S. men's national team general manager Ernie Stewart. He said they're still on track for an early November announcement as to who's going to be their head coach, who's left in the running, and who's out.
Well, with all signs pointing toward Greg Berhalter, I made more calls this week just to make sure that was the case, and all my sources say, yeah, Greg Berhalter, all signs pointing toward him as the next U.S. men's national team coach. They want to announce it by November 1st, U.S. Soccer. You may ask also, what other choices might Greg Berhalter have? I'm told the LA Galaxy is very interested in Greg Berhalter, so he might be able to use that as leverage to get the best deal possible, and he might have a tough choice to make. Why not other candidates? Well, sources tell me Jesse Marsh in 2011 had really strong disagreements with U.S. Soccer CEO Dan Flynn over the firing of Bob Bradley and his staff, which included Jesse Marsh. Tab Ramos has taken the U.S. to the last 2 quarterfinals in the Under-20 World Cup. I'm told he's not a serious candidate because he has not coached a senior team before. Tata Martino doesn't speak great English. Ernie Stewart, the GM, says that's a requirement. And Peter Vermees, I'm told, is still in the race for this job, but he's very happy in Kansas City. I'm just told that U.S. Soccer finds Greg Berhalter a bit more alluring than Peter Vermees.
All right, Grant, thank you. Interesting side note, Greg Berhalter's assistant with Columbus, Josh Wolf, happens to be on the bench today, assisting Dave Sarakin. Long delay. It's created a lot of tension among the fan base and those covering the U.S. men's national team, but has it had a negative impact on the future of this program?
I don't think so. An ideal situation would definitely be to have a coach in place, and as these kickoff series games are being played, the players are being managed by the coach that's going to lead them into the future. But that's not our reality at the moment, but I don't think it's a cause to lose faith faith in the organization and in Ernie Stewart. I had experience working with Ernie in Philly, and Ernie's a guy that comes in with a plan. He doesn't make panic decisions or rush decisions. He thinks things through. He has a bigger picture in mind, and he sets smaller goals along the way to accomplish that bigger picture. And November 1st is the next step in that process.
You know when you go to a concert and the band makes you wait and they build the tension and then finally they go on stage, but sometimes they make you wait too long and it gets obnoxious and it's unnecessary. That's the situation that we are in right now. Look, we were given a gift, not something that we wanted, the gift of time as we get showered by the sprinklers here, all right? We were given the gift of time, and you use that time for a little bit, but right now, it's ridiculous, all right? And if it ends up being Greg Berhalter, why couldn't you have named Greg Berhalter to begin with? Why couldn't he continue to do this Columbus situation? Even he could be here right now coaching the team, if that's what's going to be. We're going to find out if they were talking to Greg Berhalter all along. It's going to be disappointed if they just kept letting this thing go on and on and on, because it's getting ridiculous right now.
The next competitive games for the U.S. men's national team next summer at the Gold Cup. The U.S. placed in a group. They already know where they're going to be. Beautiful St. Paul, that new stadium. Also off to Cleveland and Kansas City. But up next, they're here in Tampa for a real challenging match with 14th ranked Colombia. We welcome you back to Tampa. Michael Bradley in the starting 11, but the U.S. still without a head coach. They get set to host 14th-ranked Colombia. In the 8 games since the U.S. failed to qualify for last summer's World Cup, they have 3 wins and just 8 goals scored. Offense has clearly been a difficult time for them as of late, and it only got more challenging this week. For more on that, back upstairs to John and Stu.
Yeah, Rob, a lot of people want to talk about the fact this game comes without Christian Pulisic, without Weston McKennie, without Tyler Adams. We know Ernie Stewart has his plan, and by all accounts, it sounds like he has his coach, who you assume is watching this game. So who has the most to gain with a good performance tonight?
Exactly that, the offense. Only once under Dave Sarachan has this team scored them more than one goal in a game, and that was against Bolivia. I'm looking at this front four today because I think when everybody is healthy as part of this U.S. men's national team pool, whether that's Josie, Altidore, Pulisic, McKennie, and Adams, I don't think any of these front four start. And that's even including Bobby Wood, who's coming off a 2-goal performance against Stuttgart on the weekend. If you want to be a part of this pool, if you want to be a starter on this team, show it again tonight, because this might be one of your last opportunities in front of Dave Sarachan before the real coach is announced on November 1st, potentially.
And someone's got to keep out this loaded Colombian attack. That responsibility falls in part tonight to goalkeeper Zach Steffen, who spoke earlier with Katie.
Zach, you make your 4th consecutive start for the U.S. men's national team, and you do it this time with Brad Guzan in camp. What do you have to do on the field tonight against Colombia to continue to impress?
I would say I just have to play my game and control the back line. Make the saves when needed, and just command the guys and lead from the back. Continue to do what I've been doing.
Appreciate the time. Good luck tonight.
Thank you.
So, Zach, the #1 keeper for Columbus, starting to look more and more like he's the #1 for the red, white, and blue as well, closing in on kickoff between the U.S. and Colombia. Something you're looking for early on in this match. What is it?
I think the obvious is Michael Bradley being back. I want to see how he gels with this young group of players and leads them and organizes the back line behind him, because it's going to be a lot coming their way with this attacking power from Colombia. But I also want to see, Dave Sarachan yesterday said that he's setting up this lineup with the intention of being better in the final third. So I want to see how this group goes down and executes that plan.
This gets back to what we just talked about. It's so hard to watch this team because it doesn't have a coach. So these players could be completely different if and when that next person comes in. He or she may have completely different ideas about how to play. When you're watching this team tonight, just have something that gives you hope. Be entertained. Have an attacking type of mentality individually and collectively. But understand that until that coach is in play, from a tactical perspective, if they go out there, if you like something, that's fine, but it might not continue.
Still need to see some promise, need to see some optimism. A guy like Weah has a lot of that. A lot of fans out there excited to see the young teenager get a go wearing the red, white, and blue from the start, and a chance to make an impact.
Yeah, definitely to make an impact. And these are the fun things to see. I hope that this continues. I think Dave Sarakin has done a wonderful job in a very unique and, yes, a difficult situation. He's going to come out looking fine, ultimately, from this. But I like the fact that he has brought in young players. And maybe a little bit was inevitable, but I hope that that continues on with whoever comes in and takes over this program. And guys like Weah, that's important to give them the opportunities.
Julian Green with some Tampa ties as well. A lot's going to be expected of him offensively tonight. So a lot of young talents to get excited for. And another big U.S. test coming up next. The States take on Colombia next here on FS1.